What up, my cool cats and kittens? It is JP Exotic here, bringing you guys episode number, what episode? 13?
Yes.
Of His and Hers movie podcast. And joining me tonight, she's allergic to cats. It is Carly. What's up?
You're stupid.
Why? Oh, we are podcasting out of southwestern Pennsylvania. It is April 4th, 2020 at the time of recording, and we are here.
We are. That was a clever tie-in of stuff there, I will admit.
Yeah, wasn't it? Because even though our featured review is She's Allergic to Cats.
Yes.
I think one title that we watched overshadowed that.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, we are here. It is now April, and it is a new day. So how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I just got back from 2 different Walmarts. And dude, I feel like I catch corona every time I come out of there.
Yeah, just the people walking around sketch me out. Because the thing is, when
I'd probably say 80% of people have on masks now, including the workers.
The thing about that is, like, when they're wearing the mask, to me, I'm like, are they protecting themselves, or do they have something and they're trying to protect everyone else? Like, that's what sketches me out about it.
Yeah.
You don't know, and I think most people are just doing it because they're paranoid, but at the same time, I'm like, I know, like, at my work, if someone in your family now catches it, or not catches it, but if they get tested for it, you have to wear a mask in case that they had it, and then in case if you get it, so it's like, that's a precaution too now in case you might possibly have it. So it's all topsy-turvy and a mess.
I feel like I almost feel like I want to start wearing a mask just because I feel like the air I'm breathing in is toxic.
I don't like those masks. They make it really hard for me to breathe.
I might just use a bandana or something.
Yeah, I guess. But
What's that?
I said, yeah, I guess that could work.
Yeah. You cut out for a second. I was like, what the heck?
But, yeah.
Yeah, so what'd you do this week?
What did I do this week? When did we last record? I was supposed to keep track of that, and I forgot. Well, I worked. I watched moves, and actually I ordered an order off of Second Spin that I told you about, and got some movies off of there because they were going out of business, and it was 50% off, which now it's down to 60% off. There's not a lot of movies on there really that people would probably want, but I got a few things off of there, so that's cool. It's been a long time since I've ordered movies for myself. I used to do that a lot back in the day, but never have the money, so I did that.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of these companies going out of business, man. It's rough. You actually picked up some good titles.
Yeah, I told you I have them sitting here. I got Hereditary, because, didn't own that one. Lights Out, Insidious, The Last Key, Doctors and the Devils, the 85 one, Strangers Pray at Nights, Cabin Fever Patient Zero, Lost After Dark, and Return of the Living Dead Part 2. So, yeah, that's, it is sad, because that was my way of collecting stuff when I decided I wanted to start collecting. I used to, back in the day when I didn't have a bunch of bills and whatnot and still lived at home, I would literally buy like 10 movies at a time off of that and go hasting, which is also under now, so it's unfortunate. But yeah, so I picked up I usually use that as a reason to get newer movies too, because I don't really buy new stuff when it first comes out, so it's cool to just grab it secondhand, and it's usually really cheap. But yeah, so I did that, and you and I hung out yesterday for quite a while, which we'll get into that on the next ep. But that was a fun time. Had a little move-a-thon, and other than that, I really didn't do too much. I've been avoiding stores for the most part. I could still do that because I haven't really had to get groceries or toilet paper yet, luckily, and that's been nice. I'm not really saving money though, like I thought I was. Like, I feel like I'm still broke even though I'm not doing anything, so that kind of is lame. That's annoying. But Other than that, that's about it. I've been working, watching movies, and doing the same old crap, I would say. So, what have you been up to?
Pretty much just watching a lot of moves, working, just kind of doing the damn thing. I got a Switch for my birthday. Been playing Pokemon Sword a little bit.
Yeah, where'd you get that from?
Santa Claus.
Oh, I didn't know he came on birthdays.
Yeah, he likes me.
Yeah, well, that's nice, I guess.
So, I've been playing Switch. Before that I was playing some Madden. I've been playing a lot of games lately, past the time. I gotta do a few cleaning around and stuff like that, but for the most part it's just been weird, like staying, just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, like, and just doing everything inside. So yeah, but we decided we both had a Friday off, which is pretty rare. And we decided to have a movie marathon, which we will give a recap of it next week in next week's episode. But the concept, a little teaser here, is we watched 6 movies in one day and went and got a bunch of snacks and stuff, similar to Moods' 24-hour marathon, but we didn't watch 24 hours worth of movies. It was more like, with all the bull stuff we did in between, it was like 12 hours. Yeah. But like we went and got food and went and bought snacks and stuff like that. But yeah, we actually recorded it, so that will be a video on His and Hers movie podcast after I get it edited. And of course we will give a recap of that event next week on the show, but we actually already did it. We just don't want to put too much into this show, because next week's show is a little light, so we'll talk about that next week. Which by the time you hear this, it will be next week. So it's kind of like 2 episodes in a week type thing, since we were a little behind on the recording schedule. But yeah, so we did this 12-hour marathon, 6 movies, randomly picked from my collection. A little preview of what's to come. Carly did not enjoy her time, so
yeah, pick better moves next time.
I pretty much picked them at random out of my collection, but yeah, so that is that. It should be fun, to revisit that. I'm going to edit the video, and we also have that MRE video still coming out. I just got to get time to edit. But yeah, so with that said, what have you watched?
Let us see. Where did I leave off? All right. Probably quite a bit of stuff here. Let me see here. Okay. What did I watch? I watched, for watch number 100, kind of an uneventful watch. I actually watched that Terror on Tape 85 thing that you had told me about, just out of curiosity. Like you said, it's not really a movie. It's just like one of those things where some dude goes to a video store and he's like, I need something scary. And then some guy's like just playing clips from random like horror movies and exploitation movies, from the 80s and 70s and stuff. And so that was cool. I like stuff like that, though, watching clips of movies. The only movie I'd seen on there was actually The Slayer, which I had just watched to do on Exploding Heads not too long ago. So I forget what the other movies even were, but it was an interesting watch. I mean, there's nothing to it. It literally isn't really a movie, but it was what it was.
Yeah, it's very basic, but it was kind of fun. Cool little clip show.
Yeah, I kind of put on like as a background thing anyway that night. It was actually the same night we had recorded our last episode, and I just threw it on because it was like getting late. And then after that, I watched The Room, which we did a Netflix and chill episode on. So yeah, if you want to hear the thoughts on that, that episode's not out yet though, I don't think. So
yeah,
that's our next.
I totally forgot about that episode.
Yeah, that'll be our next episode on there that'll come out. So I won't really give my opinions on that on here. But After that, I actually checked out What We Do in the Shadows. That's a movie that Mr. Brandon Orlick actually had sent to me, and I loved that movie. I really, really liked that movie. It was obviously a comedy
Yeah,
parody
you wouldn't quit
vampire
talking
film.
about it.
Yeah, yeah, I kept bringing up annoying you and bringing up all the scenes from it, even though you probably don't remember any of it. But it was just so the humor just really hit with me. It was very lighthearted. It was one of those ones that just I would probably rewatch that over and over again, especially if I'm like in a bad mood and don't want to watch anything serious or depressing. That's the type of movie I would throw on, and I was pleased by it because I was thinking I always heard it all hyped up by people and saying it's so funny, but a lot of times I don't find stuff funny that everyone else does, so I thought I was going to think it was dumb, especially the concept of it just sounded dumb to me, but I actually really enjoyed it. The story, I like the story too. It was just clever what they do and how it's filmed like a documentary style. Good movie. Everybody should watch that. And then after that I've been going through, my regular collection of stuff I haven't watched, and after that I checked out The Gallows from 2015. Now, this movie got horrendous feedback. I remember back when it came out, people made it sound like it was barely a movie. If I recall correctly, they were like, oh, it's just a bunch of people in the dark getting like nooses around their neck for like an hour, and that's it. And that's just what I heard from just people in my regular life and reviews online and things like that. So I thought it was going to suck. I picked this up at Dollar Tree. A lot of people have been picking that up at Dollar Tree because, of course, they've been selling some random decent movies, and it was on Blu-ray, so figured why not.
By the way, whenever you said you thought that was just a one-time thing or something, Dollar Tree has been selling movies for years.
Oh, I know they've been selling movies for years, but they all of a sudden were selling like ones that were heard of, and
no, they always have. It's just we didn't have any around here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But why everyone made it seem like a big movement on Facebook? They were all posting their hauls all of a sudden about them.
I know it was weird how that happened, but I've seen people post hauls for years from Dollar Tree.
Well, all right then. I mean, I never really even paid attention in Dollar Tree because they used to have them in they still kind of do in weird locations, so I never realized before. But
yeah, I looked one time and it seems like they get a new shipment at the. I forget, it said on one of the boxes, place this from, February this to March 20th or something.
Oh.
So I think they come in, shipments.
Interesting. Yeah, but yeah, this was one of the movies I picked up there, and guys, I actually was really creeped out by this movie. I watched it at 2 a.m. It was really late at night, and I just threw it on while I was laying in bed thinking it was going to be stupid and I'd just fall asleep, but I was pretty creeped out by it. I mean, I think it's just the whole concept of it, where it's the beginning of the movie, a teenager dies on stage at a school play in this tragic event that is completely unrealistic and would never happen. It is actually kind of stupid, but the concept of it was creepy to me, and just the whole school setting late at night when no one's around and all this stuff is going down was super creepy. It just really creeped me out. For the first time in a long time, I was very scared by this film. I see what people's problem is with the characters. They say dumb stuff, unrealistic things happen, and it's just some of it is just very unrealistic. So I kind of see that argument, but I don't know why this one got as hated on as it did, because I mean, it's not that bad in my opinion. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10, but maybe I'm crazy, but I actually enjoyed it. But after that, I watched Hangman, which is another found footage type of movie, and this one was also pretty creepy. The concept is a little different, where you have this dude breaks into these people's house and while they're on vacation, and he puts cameras everywhere, and he's still hiding out in their house the entire movie, and they don't realize it. They think, oh, someone robbed us while we were gone. Now he's gone, everything's fine, but he's actually still lingering around their house and hiding out in the shadows and their attic, and he comes down at night and drinks their orange juice and stands over them while they're asleep, and then when they're not home, he's watching their TV and just doing all this weird stuff he lives there, and it was pretty disturbing. I don't know if it's exactly super realistic. I mean, I feel this stuff could happen, but for this long period of time. I don't know if it would be a realistic thing, but the concept is just really scary, and it has a pretty downbeat ending, so I enjoyed that one as well. It was really good. Then after that, I watched The Boys Next Door, which is an 85 movie, more of like a crime drama thriller film. But what goes on in it is you have like these two outcast-ish teenage boys, one being Charlie Sheen, and this other, dude. And they decide that, I think it's right after they graduate, they want to take a road trip. They have like $200 that one of them got as a birthday or graduation gift or something like that. So they decide to take a spontaneous trip to, I believe it's California. And while they're there, it's like you kind of discover that the one dude in particular, not Charlie Sheen's character, but the other guy, kind of has like this craziness about him. Like they're in the car and he's like, you ever just get that feeling you want to bash someone's head off the window or like kill somebody? And the other dude's like, well, yeah, of course, all the time, jokingly. And he's like, well, I have that feeling, and it's like serious, and just that type of conversation. And they kind of go on like this spree of crimes and killing and mayhem. And it was actually really good. And I liked how it all wraps up at the end. By the end, there's kind of this big mall scene that I thought was pretty cool. It's a little, I would say it's light on the horror elements. There are killings and stuff like that, but it's not done in like a super dark way, like Confessions of a Serial Killer or anything like that. So that's kind of why I would say it's more thriller than anything. But it was a good one. I was glad I watched it. I enjoyed it. Then after that, I watched Stoker from 2014 or 13.
About time.
Yeah, and I don't know about this move.
Why? It's like a masterpiece, dude.
A masterpiece?
Yes, definitely.
Why a masterpiece?
Because it's an amazing move.
Okay, well, I liked it. I did like it. I feel like I didn't pay attention maybe the entire time.
Yeah, it's one that you have to really pay attention to, because there's a reveal like later in the film that like changes what you thought about characters and stuff, and it's like pretty impactful.
Yeah, I just like wasn't into it that much from the start. I think I did like it wasn't one of those ones where I zoned out the entire film, because I was doing something like uploading a video or something like that while it was playing, but I paid attention like in and out. It was just one of those ones where I feel like I should rewatch it, because I definitely missed some things. And I also kind of went into it knowing like what people say about it and what the type of movie it turns out to be. So I felt like, oh, I already know about this movie, but I should rewatch it. I still enjoyed it though. I thought it was a good movie, but it didn't live up to the hype you said, and it's probably because of my own fault, because I am dumb. But no, but then after that, I watched Paranormal.
Well, hold up. That movie is interesting because it's directed by Park Chan-wook.
Yeah, who is that?
He did like a bunch of movies like Thirst and I think Old Boy. He did like a bunch of I think he did the Vengeance trilogy.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that. I actually knew that name. I didn't really know what all. I didn't look up what he did though, but when it came up saying he directed it, I was like, I think I've heard that person before.
Yeah, he directed Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Thirst.
Well, I have never seen any of those movies, but I have heard of all of them. So
yeah, he's a really good director. But yeah, that was a. I really loved that movie when it came out. I just couldn't call it horror at the time, so I put it in. I didn't put it in my top 10, but I've only seen it that one time when it came out, so But yeah, I thought it was amazing when I first seen it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like you would definitely put that in your list
probably
nowadays.
Probably
you probably, yeah, because now people like are more open to stuff. Yeah. It does feel more thriller drama throughout the whole thing, but I think the storyline is horror-esque. So, but Then after that, I watched Paranormal Activity 4. I just had it next in the collection. I just don't like. This movie's okay. I think this is one that most people don't like that much
I thought that was
anyway.
the one everybody liked.
Is it?
Isn't it the prequel back in the 80s?
No, that's part 3, the one with their little girls.
Maybe that's the one everybody likes.
That's the one. Yeah, that's actually my favorite. I like that one a lot. I think it's got some creepy moments, but part 4, I think people are kind of iffy on, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the part 4 is the one where you're kind of following that like blonde chick and her boyfriend, and there's that scene with the car, and you probably never even seen
No,
this movie.
I've never seen past 2.
Okay, dude, don't get smart. But
I've told you that a million times.
all right, dude, whatever. Shh. Anyway, but yeah, it's okay. I think all the movies are just okay. Rewatching them this time, I feel like in high school I liked them actually better, even though back in high school I didn't even really like them too much. But I was nostalgic to rewatch these, and I feel like I just don't really care for them too much. And part 4 has its moments, but especially, when you get into like part 4 and that, it just becomes more for entertainment value than anything than trying to seem realistic or anything like that. So, it's all right though. I mean, I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Part 3 is definitely probably the best in my opinion, then part 1, then part 2, and then this one. But after that, I checked out Lovely Molly, and I really dug this movie. I didn't know what it was about going into it. All I knew is I had seen multiple people, including you, say it was pretty good whenever you had seen it. So, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be exactly. So I actually thought it was interesting. It kind of involves like paranormal and like drugs and like, just psychological problems, and kind of like combines them all together and it's got some disturbing moments in it and just some weird uncomfortable moments in it too. And I like the main girl that you're following. I thought she did a really good job. So I actually really dug the movie. Like I said, I went into it not really knowing much about it, and I was pleased. So that is that. And then I guess finally for me, I watched Eternal Evil from '85 earlier today, and yeah, not that good of a movie. It wasn't as bad though as I was thinking. I've seen worse from '85. I still gave it like a 4 out of 10. It's not a good movie at all. But it had a decent, like you could watch it. It was like a watchable film, and it seemed like they were trying at least a little bit. But the effects and like stuff that goes on in it is kind of laughable. So for those elements, it's really not that good. But it was alright. I've seen worse, aka Horror on Highway 5 and Bloodstream from that year. So that is all my movies for so far. So now it is your turn.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we did watch 6 extra movies since we did the marathon, but we'll talk about those next week.
Yeah.
All right, first up for me, movie number 110, After the Hunt, which was 109. Re-animator, R.I.P. to Mr. Stuart Gordon. He passed away, I guess it would be a week ago now, right?
Yeah.
About a week ago.
Yeah, I forget the exact date, but yeah, I would say about a week.
And we decided to do a watch party for Re-animator, which is actually not my favorite Stuart Gordon film, but it is from 1985. I have already watched it for 85 prep, but I decided to watch it again since it was, in honor of his death. He is a underrated filmmaker, I would say. He directed some good stuff, Re-animator being his most known film, but he also directed From Beyond, which I think is like the better in those 2 films. Castle Freak, which is a really fun movie. Dolls. He also did some stuff like Robot Jocks, King of Ants, and a couple of other films in later in his career. But very talented filmmaker. I enjoyed a lot of his early work quite a bit. Re-animator is a film that I've never loved like everybody else. I just didn't grow up with it, I think, is why I never really cared for it like other people do. Like some people, it's like one of their favorite movies ever. It's just like good to me, but I don't think that it's not my favorite. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times now, and I still don't see the hype on it, you know. But I mean, that's not fair because I do see why it's good. I just, when people say it's like one of the better horror films ever made, that's where I like just am puzzled.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I didn't grow up watching that one either, but the few times I've seen it, I actually quite enjoy it. But
yeah.
So
then I watched Altered for Flick 111. Did this one with a watch party too. This is actually a Patreon watch for later in the 22 shots episode that I will be doing. It is a alien film where a couple people find an alien. They capture an alien that you know, because they were abducted when they were younger, they are getting revenge on these aliens. They capture a real alien, and it's a pretty cool movie, pretty decent effects, and a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Directed by Eduardo Sanchez.
Cool.
After that, episode 112, I watched movie 112. I watched The Room, which is a Shudder original. You guys can listen to our podcast on that thing, which should be out next week. Yeah, so The Room. Then I watched The Crazies, 1973. I decided to check this one out because I was kind of in the mood for these like sort of infection pandemic films, since our times that we're going into.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, honestly, that one is kind of ahead of its time. It came out in 1973. Like, 1973 is 4 years away from 69. You know what I mean? It's very close to the 60s, which I always find like the 60s and 70s was a huge turning point in like the way films looked.
Yeah, I agree.
And
that movie is creepy relevant to today with some of the stuff that is said in it.
Yeah, it's like kind of ahead of its time. It reminds me of like, because this is before Dawn of the Dead, this is before Day of the Dead. This is only after Night of the Living Dead, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. Like George Romero, you know, some of the elements that we see in Dawn and Day later were, you know, forecasted in this film. I think that the government in their creepy all white suits with their gas masks is pretty creepy. It's a pretty decent film. I really liked it. I gave it like an 8 out of 10. Then I watched a trilogy of documentaries: Paradise Lost, The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills, 1996, Paradise Lost 2, Revelation, 2000, and Paradise Lost 3, Purgatory, 2011. This is a series of documentaries that I first seen because of Jeremy's recommendation on 22 Shots. Funny enough, I actually put Paradise Lost as my number 2 film of 1996 when we did that show. Probably a cheat. But I liked it that much. It's an absolute amazing film. It follows these 3 boys who are put in prison because they are convicted of the murder of 3 8-year-olds. And you're kind of told all these interesting facts, like there was no physical evidence linking these 3 to the 3 8-year-olds. Their main explanation for these 3 kids being involved is that, one, they were weird looking. They dressed in all black. They wore like Metallica t-shirts. They were, you know, heavy metal heads. They were into like witchcraft, Wiccan type of stuff. Maybe a little Satanism to a certain extent, but not to the extent of what the police say. It seemed more like they were just like, you know, doom and gloom, kind of fitting the mold. I don't think that meant they were doing sacrifices on children. But yeah, so interesting. The first film focuses on the trial mainly, and then the second film focuses a lot on one of the fathers of one of the murdered children and his inconsistencies with his stories and his wife's death and things like that. I actually think that in the first film they paint him as the guy who probably did it. In the second film, I think they still paint him as could have been involved, but through my own watching, I felt like he wasn't involved. But in the first film, I did think he was involved, so that just goes to show you. And then the third film that came out in 2011 follows like the aftermath and the people trying to get the three out of prison, and the father who blamed them has reversed his opinion and says that they're innocent. So it's very interesting how things all played out. A fantastic trio of documentaries, 3 of the best out there. The first one's a 10 out of 10, the second one's an 8 out of 10, and the third one's an 8.5.
Cool. I've never seen those.
Yeah, they're really good. They're like all 2 hours long each, though.
Oh.
Movie 118, 28 Days Later, 2002. Again, with the pandemic, I just felt like, hey, I should check this out. I've been wanting to revisit it for a long time. This actually was my number 2 film of 2002. My number 2, which I think my number 1 was Frailty, which came out in 2001. So yeah. This would have been my number 1 had I actually done that correctly. But yeah, so 28 Days Later is a film that follows a man who wakes up in a hospital after the world has pretty much ended, and he is wandering the streets of London, I guess, and he eventually figures out that there's these crazy infected people who have like a rage virus, and they're after him. So all the people have become infected with this rage virus. He finds a group of survivors. They stick together, find another group of survivors. Their hope is to follow a military beacon and meet up with the military and have some sort of protection. Man, this is a fantastic movie, honestly. I think that Danny Boyle's directing style, I'm actually like this movie more now that I'm thinking about it after a couple days have went past. But I remember first seeing this film in 2004 or 3 or something. And I rented it with Saw, and I watched both of those back to back, and my mind was blown. Like I had fallen out of new horror. I hadn't really watched a whole lot of new horror,
Mm.
And these had come out over the past couple of years, and I watched both of them back to back. This one first, Saw second, and I was like, holy crap, like horror has changed. And I've always said that the post 9/11 horror was much stronger, from 2001 on to about 2005 or 6, maybe even all of the early 2000s, once you get the French New Wave coming in and stuff like that. But I've always felt like it was much more raw and hopeless, and that is the case with 28 Days Later, man. It just has this washed out, dry look to it that just works, and the music is amazing. The only thing that I don't love is by the end, the military section becomes a little cliche. We've seen it before with Romero films and stuff. It's a little cliche for a zombie/infected film. I know they're infected, but I'm just saying it plays out like a zombie film.
Yeah.
But I actually love the way that it's directed, and I love the rage virus, honestly. Like, I prefer the slow moving Romero zombies to the fast moving infected films, but I actually really like how the rage virus is done in this film. It's frantic, that it's fast editing. It's a very good movie. I gave it a 9, but I honestly probably could go a little higher if it wasn't for the military section. Then I watched Jeepers Creepers 2001. I picked this up on Blu-ray recently, wanted to give it a shot. Haven't seen it in a really long time, and I was kind of in that like early 2000s mode, man. I was just like feeling it. Of course, this film is very well known for being directed by Victor Salva, who committed horrible, heinous crimes, who should be condemned and just punished, and it just, I don't even want to get into it, but I I'm in the camp where, you know, I would have been cool if he was completely castrated or something. You know, I don't think it's a horrible crime.
Yeah.
I also am from the camp that, you know, that doesn't affect my enjoyment of said movies. And this is one that I think, first of all, this is his best film. I've seen all of his horror films, I believe. And this is his best one. I think this movie is amazing. I've always really liked it, but rewatching it, I think that it is like phenomenal. It's one of the best scary movies in modern history. At a time where they weren't really doing original scary movies that weren't, you know, based on a Japanese ghost story film from Japan, or, you know, a haunted house or something. They weren't really making horror movies that were scary around this time that weren't ghost or paranormal based. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that he created an incredible monster with the Creeper. And by the way, I don't know if you've ever seen the Unsolved Mysteries episode where it is very similar to Jeepers Creepers. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, actually, I think you told me about it, and then I looked it up on YouTube, and someone had uploaded like a side-by-side comparison of the two things, and that's insane. Yeah. It's the exact story.
Because to my knowledge, I've never heard Victor Salva mention that he got the idea from an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, but it is clear as day he's seen that episode. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's even shot, that episode is like filmed the same way as the movie, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but he definitely took a scary concept and expanded upon it. It's an amazing film. Super scary, super creepy. It's weird, man. It's a weird, creepy movie. I'm at a 9 out of 10 on that bad boy. Then I watched Jeepers Creepers 2 for the hell of it. I actually think this one is nearly as good as the first one. It's creepy. The opening is amazing with the scarecrow. I actually like all the kids on the bus, the road horror. I like the way that it ends. It's a very, very cool movie that expands the Creeper's mythology, and he's dude. The scene where he is outside the bus window and they just like look around the seat and his face is just there, and he's oh dude, it's scary. That shit is scary, dude. I don't care what you say. That is scary. It will forever scare me, and any movie that scares me, I love. That's an 8.5 for that one. Then I watched the supposed abomination of Jeepers Creepers 3. And honestly, I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid, personally. I thought it's kind of interesting because it takes place in between Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. So it's technically Jeepers Creepers 2, and Jeepers Creepers 2 is Jeepers Creepers 3.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so it takes place in between Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. 2 being the last film in the timeline and 1 being the first. This one takes place in between that. And I actually thought it was pretty good. It brought back the Creeper's truck. It added some more mythology to the Creeper. There was some cool moments. The biggest problem is the CGI. I will admit, it's not great.
For me, the biggest... I didn't like that it was set like in the daytime for the majority of the film.
Yeah?
Yeah, because the other two movies, I mean, they're set in the day, but like this entire film is like in the daytime, and the other two are like have a lot of night settings. So,
but I think that like the continuity was really good in this one, and I'm a sucker for continuity, so I like that they carried over some of the aspects of the first film and the second film, and tied them all together like nice and tight. I hated some of the stuff with the truck, like the booby traps on the truck. It just didn't make sense to me. I just felt like it was unrealistic, so I didn't like that. But there's some great moments in the film. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's great, but I thought it was a decent attempt for such a small budget. I'd read that his budget was like cut in half right before filming, so that could really screw you. So I think that honestly, like I saw a great film there. I think if he would have had the money that he had on 1 and 2, it would have looked really good and been the same as Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. But I gave that a 6 out of 10. Then I watched 28 Weeks Later, which I had never seen before. And I'll say, honestly, it's pretty good. This one's a little bit different. It takes place 28 weeks after the events of the first film. They started rebuilding society because most of the infected died off from starvation. But there's one character who gets infected and has been like hovering around and comes into contact, but she's infected, but she's not. Like she's immune sort of, but she can still carry the infection, so she can still pass it along. Accidentally infects like this outpost and starts the virus all over again, essentially. And it's a bunch of these two kids trying to survive the new outbreak. And I think that the most interesting thing about this film is that it is not directed by Danny Boyle, but it feels like it is. It has the same style that 28 Days Later did, and I like that about the film. It fits very well. It feels like a direct continuation. The editing's there. The music's probably even better than in the first film. The way that they use the score and stuff, I absolutely love it. It was honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I put this off for so long, because it is a very good follow-up. I gave it an 8.
Cool.
And then we have 123. We have Mad Max. And this one I wanted to see just because I haven't ever watched it all the way through, and I wanted to watch the other Mad Max films, so I was like, I'll just watch this one. And I had the Stilled Scream Factory of this, so finally cracked it open. It's much more of it's not really as post-apocalyptic as the other two films, like out in the desert and stuff, but it's like decent. I just didn't love it. It's more of like this revenge narrative thing. Super thick Australian accents. I gave it a 7, but I like the other Mad Max films better. And then I watched Hellhole, which I thought I owned. I swore I owned it, but apparently I didn't own it. And I watched that on Tubi, 1985, like sort of women in psychiatric prison care thing. Boobs, experiments, stuff like that. It was alright. I didn't love it. I sort of kind of tuned out of it a few times, and it took me a couple days to finish. So yeah, there's that. And then finally I watched The Road Warrior last night, and that is Mad Max 2. Much better Mad Max film. It's got some great car chases in it. It's kind of known for just the wacky look of the post-apocalyptic people in their, garbs that they're wearing and stuff. Like one dude has like a Jason 5 hockey mask. The cover of Jason 5, the weird looking hockey mask that's never used in any of the movies. Mm. There's a guy who's like wearing a hockey mask that looks like that in The Road Warrior. So, that is everything I watched, except for the one thing that I guess we'll talk about here in a moment. But yeah, tons of stuff there. I actually did end up watching a few things out of my collection that were unwatched, which is nice. So those films that I watched out of the collection that were unwatched was The Crazies. I had the Blu-ray. Paradise Lost 2. I don't own Paradise Lost 3, so I watched it on YouTube. 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, both Blu-rays that I had sealed. Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3. Also, I had the 1 and 2 Scream Factory, and then I just picked up 3. Those were sealed. And then Mad Max was sealed. So, and Road Warrior. So I actually got to quite a bit this time.
Nice. Very nice. A lot of moves.
Yeah. So the last thing that we watched was Tiger King.
Yes. Murder, Mayhem, and Madness or something like that. Oh crap, I don't even know how to explain this. Hold on. Didn't look up a synopsis. Let me see what... Give me 1 minute. Okay, an exploration of big cat breeding and its bizarre underworld populated by eccentric characters is the description. So
this is, if you've been sleeping under a rock, you probably heard of this by now, but it is the newest Netflix docu-series. It's 7 episodes long. It follows the trials and tribulations of Joe Exotic, big cat zoo owner, and Carol fucking Baskin, who is a animal rights activist who is trying to stop Joe Exotic, and then the many people that come into Joe Exotic's life.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I don't know, dude. I don't want to get into it too much because it feels like everybody's talked it to death by now.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I thought it was really good. Like, I was super into this weird sort of character of Joe Exotic. Like, it's funny because I've watched a lot of press and different stuff after the show had aired, and the documentary, like, am I wrong? Does it almost paint Joe as like the protagonist of the show?
Yeah, for sure.
Because like I had heard other people say that like he was a complete D-bag and like abused animals like way more than it was ever shown and stuff like that.
Yeah, you see he's very manipulative in the show, so it's like one of those things where while watching it I kind of went back and forth on feeling bad for him and thinking like this guy is an a-hole, but they do definitely kind of make him look like the hero, especially with, you know, old Carol Baskin being the other central character in it. They make it seem like Joe is the one to feel bad for, and they don't really go into, like, I was almost confused by the end, like, why is he in so much trouble? Because they really don't go into, like, the animal abuse aspects that much. Like, you see some things, and they talk about some things briefly, but it's not, like, upsetting or anything like that, so I'm kind of, yeah, I feel like they don't really, I didn't look up details really after the fact, so I don't know the full story on him or anything like that, but from the documentary, it's not about the animals as much as it feels like it's just about showing these weirdo characters and how they live their lives.
Yeah, there was some shocking moments in this thing. When the girl got her arm ripped off and went right back to work, I was like, what the heck? Like, that's insane. The fact that most of these people that work there actually don't work there. They're not employed, like they don't get paid. They just get room and board essentially.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Joe Exotic is like a gay man who married like 4
Polygamist. Yeah. There's just so, like, every single character they introduce, there's something off about them. It's like, you said the first episode, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna really like this, but then as you just keep watching it, it gets worse and worse and crazier and crazier. It's just like, oh my god, like you said, that girl gets her arm ripped off. I mean, she seems normal, but it's like, dude, you got your arm ripped off and just, you wanted to make sure Joe didn't get in trouble, so you went back to work. Carol Baskin, like, she seemed like she had good intentions at first, and then by the end, it's like, F Carol effing Baskin, and then, like, Joe's nuts, freaking, just everyone who works there is crazy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how did all these people come about? It's, and I usually don't get behind these Netflix shows too much. I'm not really into them. Like, people I work with will devour every single documentary and every single original TV series that comes out, and I never know what they're talking about. And I wasn't going to watch this one, but you tricked me into watching it, and I did. But I'm glad I did, because now I get to share in the memes and the jokes, and I see what people are talking about. So it makes me want to start watching more of these documentaries that Netflix pulls out their butt, because they do a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, so, did Carol kill her husband, do you think?
I think so. I think she either killed her husband or, she killed her husband.
I don't know if I believe that fully. I believe that she knows what happened to him, though, at the very least, or, like, knows something that happened that day.
No, dude, here's the thing. I would, like, he would have turned up if he wasn't dead, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to, I feel like she might have got someone else to do it for her or something. I don't know. I just don't know. I think she's crazy, for sure. I think they reopened the case on her, actually.
Well, it's been open, but they're actively pursuing it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you this. Did you know that she also had another husband that went missing?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they shared that in the show, but I read that online.
Like before that guy?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dude, I would. She was a. If I was her husband now, I would be like, I don't know if I want in on this. Yeah, okay, that's really. She definitely killed her husband then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that it was a really good show. I was really, really into it. I went. Here was my plan. My pap started watching it, and it was on. And I was like so enthralled in what was like in this like gay cowboy like redneck guy who loves tigers, country music star, TV show host, that I was just like, what are you watching? And I was just I couldn't stop watching it, and it made me late for work almost because I kept like starting to get ready, and then I would stop in front of the TV and stand there for like 3 minutes, and then I'm like, I gotta go. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch that when I if it's dead at work or whatever, I'll throw it on my phone. And I did, and I watched like 2 episodes, and my plan was I'm just gonna watch 1 episode a day to sort of hold me off and like pass the time a little bit when it's dead. And when I got home, I couldn't hold the restraints, and I watched the entire series in one night.
Mm-hmm.
I do that a lot. Every time I get into a show on Netflix, I watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't do that too much anymore, but with this show, I was watching it after work every day, and then it was like on Wednesday or Thursday. I forget when I started watching it, but the one night I watched an episode, I think it was like episode 4, and I was like, that was a pretty good episode. I watched it while eating dinner, and then like I watched the movie and did some other things, and then I was laying in bed, and it was like 8 o'clock, and I was like, well, I'm not really tired right now, so I turned on my laptop and ended up finishing the last 3 episodes in that one night. So, essentially I did the same thing. I just, once I got to that one episode that I really enjoyed, I just kept on going because I needed to know what else happened.
All right. So, I don't know. It was great. I gave it like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I gave it like an 8.5, but yeah, it's very good. If you have not checked it out yet, which I don't know many people who have not, I would say definitely check it out if you're bored and need entertained.
It kind of sucks because like when I first seen it, I was so excited to talk about it, but I've talked about it with so many people and read so much and seen so many other people talk about it that I'm like exhausted in talking about it.
Yeah, me too. It's like it blew up pretty quick. I'm glad I did watch it kind of before it peaked on its popularity because of you're the one who told me about it. And actually at work, it's like I heard people were like, did anyone watch that documentary yet? I hear like someone's arm gets torn off, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then we all watched it at work, and I was talking about it with all of them. So yeah, at this point, everyone knows what it's about by now, but it is good stuff. It is good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so that is our sort of bonus review. What's our featured review?
Our featured review is She Is Allergic to Cats, which was originally done in 2016 and just now is getting released. So, yeah, do you want me to...
Yeah, it was actually done as a Kickstarter in 2013, in which it made $15,000.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the summary here on IMDb, like, it pretty much tells the entire film. But you're basically following this dog groomer who he moved to Hollywood with aspirations of, making it big, I suppose, and like he wants to make these movies, but right now he's just a struggling dog groomer. He lives in like a crappy apartment, kind of has a low income lifestyle, if you will, and his home is like infested with rats. He has a landlord who's not very helpful at all, and he's just not really living the life, and he kind of is plagued by these dreams of, I guess, kind of illusions in a way of what he would like his life to be, and just a mixture of like the movies he wants to make and just all these weird dreams he always is having every single night.
He wants to remake Carrie with cats.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of his big project that he has going on throughout the whole movie that he keeps trying to pitch. And, so he's just kind of like a lame dude who isn't really going anywhere right now. And one day when he is grooming the dogs and whatnot at his job, he meets this girl named Cora who brings in a dog, and he's clipping the dog's nails. He is attracted to her, so he asks her out, and she actually agrees to go out with him, and that kind of, things spiral a little bit more out of control with him and his, like, dark side and illusions, I guess you can say, and, kind of goes from there. He, goes out with her, and then stuff kind of, goes on. So, yeah, that's a pretty basic movie, really. I mean, that's kind of the gist. It's kind of like a character piece type of film, I guess you can call it, about this dude and his life, his just kind of pathetic life, and his dreams of being something bigger, and also just kind of being a weirdo. And that's what you get with this movie. So, what did you think?
Thought it sucked.
All right. Would you like to elaborate?
I thought it was a little pretentious. It looked like it was trying to be pretty art housey, but it just never really. I mean, honestly, I did like the video look of it. Is this shot on video?
I don't know. I didn't think it was but I don't really know.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm not sure. It looked like it was shot on video to me, but
I don't know. To me, it looked a little bit less trash than shot on video, but I don't know. But I didn't think it like sucked per se, but I do feel there wasn't really much to it, especially, they did a Kickstarter and everything. I feel like, and this is what they wanted to make, like, it's just a basic film with not really, it's nothing, like, I've seen movies like this before. It's just like, okay, a disturbed guy who doesn't even seem really disturbed or anything. He's like not a bad looking dude. He's not really super awkward in my opinion or anything. So, I mean, he gets this pretty girl to go out with him. To me, it was just a very basic plot line.
Not much happened.
Yeah, it only runs an hour and like 12 minutes, I believe, which is all it really needed to run, so at least it didn't overstay its welcome. But yeah, it's nothing.
What was up with the like artsy shots of the dog grooming, like squeezing on its buttholes and stuff?
I think it was just like his psychosis or something. And are you talking about the beginning scene or like just throughout the movie? Or wait, because it opens up with like.
No,
something.
It's like in the middle of the film.
Oh, okay.
Dude, it was disgusting.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, yeah, I think I know what you mean, but I don't know. I think it's just like, I think they're supposed to, I think like you said, it's a little pretentious with that stuff. I think they're just trying to make it seem like this guy's whacked and has these weird hallucinations and dreams. And...
I don't even think that was a hallucination. I think that was like what he was doing.
Okay, I don't remember that part. So stop bringing it up.
Dude. No. I don't know. There's just not much to this film, honestly. I just didn't. It's hard to get anything out of, really.
I thought, I watched it twice to make sure I wasn't missing any underlying stuff, because it felt like one of those movies that might have been trying to, like, be artsy and, like, give another extra messages or something, but I don't think it is. I think it literally is just, like, a weird guy gets a girl, then things kind of go wrong at the end. Allergic to cats, blah. But, I mean, I will say, I think it was shot okay. I didn't care for all the artsy stuff, because it was just trying a little too hard since the plot was so basic. And so I didn't care for that, but I thought it was like shot decently, and I thought the actors were okay. Like I thought the acting was all right in the film. And I was kind of enthralled by certain aspects to it, like the ending when they kind of, break into that dude's house. I kind of like that.
Look at his movie collection.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I like seeing all the weird movies that he had in his collection, and then the girl telling that weird story about the ducks and whatnot. So I kind of like the girl character a little bit more than the dude. She was like more interesting in my opinion. But yeah, the bottom line is there really isn't too much to it. Mm-hmm. There's not really much to say on it. We already just said the entire plot pretty much. So
yeah.
Yeah, so what would you, I guess, rate this bad boy?
3.
Damn. I mean, I can't. You're so blunt about it. I gave it a 6.
Like, here's my thing. If it was made like do-it-yourself style, I know $15,000 is very, very little when it comes to movies, but I saw what Dave did with no money, and it's about the same quality as this. You know what I mean? And yeah. I think that if Dave had $15,000 to spend on a film, I think he would have done a much better job. So I just think that it's just like uninteresting. You know what I mean? Like whenever, like when I think of these films that have these, this character study-esque, Disturbed, follow this guy, I think of stuff like Bag Boy, Lover Boy, which was great. Mm-hmm. And, I think of movies like May and stuff, which granted cost a lot more than $15,000, but like, I just want a little bit more depth than to just say this guy is like wacky. And, one thing, okay, here's one thing that could help this film. It cost $0 to write interesting dialogue. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of static shots without dialogue in this film.
Yeah, true.
This could have benefited from some good dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I kind of like the dialogue towards the end, but I feel like it is lacking at the beginning.
If that was throughout the film,
mm-hmm.
maybe a narration or something, what's going on in his head, clever little things. We just watched a movie about a serial killer type guy who's like talking to a figment of his imagination, and that could have been a good approach for this, something like that, where this guy's like sort of walking you through his thought processes and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get into these letterbox. What did you rate it?
I told you I gave it a 6.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
let's get into a 6.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I feel like
it's like the same. Isn't that what you gave Hansel and Gretel?
No, I gave that a 7.5.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm a generous rater, I suppose.
I'm a little harsher this year, but
I think I thought this movie was going to be more trash than it was. Is what my thought process is, because you said it was like a Kickstarter. It was made on little money, so I thought like it was going to look like crap. The acting was going to be really bad, and it was going to look like something I filmed myself. So that's kind of why I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't too bad. It's just nothing special.
All right, so let's get into these letterboxd reviews. We have a positive review by Nick's Skits. If you don't believe us, maybe listen to one of these guys. A 4-star review. Since weird will certainly be the single most common word used to describe she's, then let in the words of Hunter S. Thompson, the weird turned pro. Imagine if several video formats all decided to get rip-roaring out of their mechanical brains on technical LSD at the same time. Then you might come up with something far out like She's Allergic to Cats. A low fidelity with a pure at heart cinema reason to be experience. One without its own unique charms. I felt the rather odd influence of things from Stark Live television of the 1950s, colliding with the 1990s bare-bone public access television sensibility at work throughout. I actually agree with that. That's a pretty good description of the visual look of this film. He then goes to say, it definitely feels like a lost soul searching for truth in the ultimate dishonest showbiz town sort of modern tale with a twist. Indeed, Los Angeles, the city, is itself a character here alongside Mike Pinky, Cora, see it, believe in it. Michael Reach is a fearless director who truly followed a vision while making this. Meow. Feel like he might have been cousins with Michael.
Used a lot of big words there.
Yeah, and then a 2-star review from the Movie Whisperer. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I'm not ashamed, but if you like to see a dog's anal gland squeezed, this is the film for you. I'm trying to work how a movie with so many great references to great cinema had no lasting impact on me. I hear the sound of aeroplanes. The Movie Whisperer on Letterboxd. All right, so yeah. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never watch it again. I just didn't think it was that bad, though.
Yeah. Definitely not making my top 10 of the year, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Right, meow.
Meow. And the cat.
All right, so that is it for this episode. Don't know what we're doing next week, guys. We could do something like Come to Daddy. My mouse's batteries went dead.
Oh no!
We could do something like I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will pull it out of our buttholes and get back to you.
All right. Thank you for watching, listening, or watching.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.